Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Dearest Heavenly Father, as we gather in this place as a body of allied professional organizations, we ask for your blessings on this event and all its participants. We pray for your guidance as we learn from each other and further the ideals of our public safety profession. We come from 4 countries, numerous states, provinces, and communities, but every one of us has chosen to serve with selflessness and caring. We pray that you will place your guiding hand upon the members of our profession as they aim to serve and protect our communities. Keep them safe and assist them in providing the highest level of service that all CALEA member agencies espouse. As we go through this week, let us be mindful that each participant at this conference has something to give and that we can grow from interacting with each other, with our shared knowledge making our agencies better. We pray that you guide us as we go about the business of this conference and allow us to return to our homes with a refreshed and renewed sense of service to our respective community. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Welcome to the 138th CALEA Conference in Omaha. We are all very excited to be here for a promising week of great training, networking, review hearings, and of course, a celebration banquet to recognize agencies awarded this week. Join me in a round of applause for the Omaha Police Department Office Honor Guard, the National Anthem singer Officer Hester with the Omaha Police Department, the combined Metro Police Pipe and Drum Corps, and Invocator Regional Program Manager Vince Darrow. We appreciate your participation this morning. To begin this session, we would like to welcome you to Omaha and give you some insight about the area. Here this morning to welcome you is Mayor John Ewing, Jr. Mayor Ewing served the Omaha Police Department for 25 years, from 1981 to 2006. He retired at the rank of Deputy Chief. He became the City of Omaha's 52nd mayor on June 9, 2025. Please welcome Mayor John Ewing for a welcoming remark.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Omaha. Are you all amazed yet? If not, you will be. Omaha is an amazing city, and I would like to point to a number of things that we have going on. From the 44-story Mutual of Omaha Tower reshaping our city skyline to the trenches in the pavement where we are laying steel for a new modern streetcar to begin running in a few years, to the remodeling of this amazing facility. So thank you all for being here. I would love to tell you also that the City of Omaha has been an accredited law enforcement agency for 25 years. My Chief of Staff, Thomas Warren, was a captain at that time and eventually became Chief of Police, but he was the captain that really moved us forward into accreditation. So we're excited, and I'll tell you a couple stories. Tom Warren and I have known each other since we were 6 years old. And we used to play a lot of tackle football in the gravel, and we got a little smarter as we got older. But he was actually Chief of Police when I was a Deputy Chief, and I had the great honor of working under his leadership. And then when I was elected mayor, he called me on the phone to congratulate me, and I thought to myself, who do I trust more than Tom Warren to help me with my career? So I asked him if he would be my Chief of Staff and continue in that position that he had under the previous mayor. He said yes. His wife, since I've known since the 7th grade, came downstairs, looked at him, and said, "What happened?" Because they were actually expecting to go on a vacation. And so I am thankful that he agreed to stay. We also have an amazing Chief of Police here. Many of you probably know him, Chief Taj Schmaderer. He has been the chief of the Omaha Police Department for almost 14 years and provides amazing leadership for our community. I have the best of the best with my Chief of Staff, and with Taj Schmaderer as chief. We do a great job here with law enforcement and keeping our city safe. So we are excited to have you here with us today. I would ask that you would go out and enjoy the city of Omaha. You will be absolutely amazed if you do. You'll find the #1 zoo in the country, maybe the world. You'll find the #3 botanical gardens on its way to being #1. You'll see an amazing Joslyn Art Museum. You'll see an amazing Black History Museum, and I have to mention that because my brother's the executive director. But you will see a lot of amazing things if you give yourself an opportunity to go visit and look around. Now, always remember the orange cones, the barricades, all of that you will encounter. That's a sign of progress. That little bit of a mess you saw in the airport, that's a sign of progress as well as we undergo a $1 billion renovation of our airport. So Omaha is an amazing city. We are delighted that you chose Omaha for your conference. We welcome you here. We thank you that you are doing great work as law enforcement professionals across this country. And I wish you all the best in your time here at this conference and also in your careers in law enforcement. Thank you, CALEA, for the great work that you do helping organizations become accredited and helping them make sure that they are providing the best law enforcement possible. So thank you all for being here today, and have a wonderful conference.
The Omaha Police Department has been law enforcement accredited since 2001. In July of 2024, the agency received their 8th award for law enforcement accreditation. Chief Todd Schmatter is also with us this morning to welcome you and give some insight into leadership and accreditation.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Omaha. I know you've got a little bit of an introduction here, but let me give you a little more facts. We sit right in the middle of America, literally dead right in the middle. Look at a map, you'll see us right in the middle. 500,000 population. This metro area is probably a little over 1 million in total. You know, Warren Buffett lives here, you probably know that. It's home of the College World Series. So every year we have about a 2-week period where colleges from all across the country come here. We have the world's greatest zoo, so if you came with family and they're waiting for you to leave, send them to the zoo for a day. They'll love you for it. And we take great pride in our steaks. If you were here last night, you probably can already attest to that. This area right around here, right when you leave here, if you're facing, go to your left, everything you need will be right there. Walking distance, it's an entertainment zone, it's a shopping zone, it's got food, everything. You'll love it. Just a little bit about me before I get started, because I'm going to lean into how CALEA anchors modern police leadership. And I'm going to try to hit on some things maybe you've never heard before. So I'm the longest serving major city chief right now in the country. I'm reaching my 14th year in about 10 days. Been with the Omaha Police Department a little over 30 years, and you've heard that we've been CALEA certified since 2001. The Omaha Police Department's got 1,200 employees, and we receive quite a bit of attention for our national drop in crime, especially shootings and homicides. There was a time where Omaha really had an epidemic of shootings, and now we average probably less than 50 a year. And that's down from about 250 a year. You'll see Omaha police officers throughout this week. You'll see Douglas County Sheriff's deputies. That's Douglas County, Omaha. You'll see them providing security, but they're also here to give you any advice, help you with anything that you might need. Go up to them, ask them. Also, if you see a police cruiser driving by, they know that you're here. Wave at them, flag them down. If they're not busy at the moment, they'll give you a ride somewhere. They know to be very accommodating. Who's going to try that? Somebody try it. Let me know at the banquet Saturday how that went. So how does CALEA anchor modern police leadership? As soon as I say that, you might think to yourself, everything this chief says I'm going to have heard before. Let me see if I can put a different spin on it. CALEA is obviously the gold standard. There are some obvious benefits, and there are some that are subtle. So the last time I checked, there is no Super Bowl champion for the best police department. There's no state title that says, you in this agency are excellent. There's nothing like that. So what we have, and the closest thing we have to it in our profession, and it's a solid one, is CALEA. Under that position alone, which you probably already knew, is very important. When controversial things happen in law enforcement, it doesn't matter where. It can happen in Ferguson, Michael Brown in 2015, it was controversial at first. 2020 in Minneapolis, George Floyd, controversial. Every police department, every officer across the country was painted with that brush. For that period of time, everybody looked at every police officer and said, that's how they act. It's human nature when things spread nationally like that. Actually, I'll tell you a little story about the Michael Brown situation. So that happened in 2015 in Ferguson. And this might be my greatest endorsement of CALEA ever. And so every major city chief around the country, we're part of the Major City Chiefs Association, Omaha is, and we happen to have a conference about that time. And we were watching the riots and protests and whatever you want to call it in Ferguson. And every single major city chief we're kind of holding our breath at that point. We're like, I hope it doesn't happen in our city. I hope we don't have anything controversial in our city during this time period because things look fairly tense. Well, so guess what happens? About 15, maybe 19 days, right in the kind of the heart of it, Omaha has something controversial occur. So we had the national show Cops come. Anybody seen that show Cops? Is it still on TV? I quit watching it. I'll tell you why. So they came to Omaha, and we wanted to really highlight our policing here in Omaha because we'd made a lot of changes, a lot of turns, a lot of things for the better. And they're riding along with a couple of my officers, and a robbery in progress takes place at a Wendy's. The officers run inside. There's somebody in there. He's an African-American male. Looks like he has a gun. Starts shooting at the officers, actually, making a noise and everything. Cameraman and the sound man follow. The sound man gets caught up in the vestibule. The suspect runs out. The officers they're forced to shoot because it looks like he's shooting at them. Turns out he had a replica gun. It was a pellet gun that sounded real. He acted like it was real. He was high like it was real. So they returned fire, and the sound man for the Cops TV show was killed. And so Omaha became the shift. All of a sudden, for a few days, all eyes were off Ferguson and now on to Omaha. And I remember getting a call. I actually got scheduled. It was on my schedule. My administrative assistant said, look, you got a call from this person. I'm not going to say who it was, but he was a national activist. If I was to say his name, you would know who it is. And so here comes up on my schedule, I call. And he's really polite. He's talking. He said, look, this is a problem. We're really going to pay attention to Omaha. We're going to see what goes on with your press conference. And he starts kind of asking me questions. One of the questions he asked me, he goes, Chief, is your department accredited? I said, it is. I said, it is. We are CALEA accredited. He took note of that on two positions. He asked the question. So he's been dealing with law enforcement for a long time. In his mind, that meant something. And then when we were, he acknowledged it. And then went on to list a lot of cities that weren't. And so I don't know if I can give a better endorsement of what CALEA can give you from a branding perspective than that was. Number 2, it is a culture of best practices. When there were calls for law enforcement reform in 2015 after Michael Brown, and then in 2020, the best practices that CALEA kind of puts in place, Omaha had already done. So we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We didn't have to put a whole lot of things out there. We could literally say, as the national talking points of enhancing policing were occurring, we could literally say we've done this, 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 and this. CALEA provided a roadmap for that in a lot of ways. Number 3, it bridges the gap for community trust. Look, if you don't have any accreditation, if you don't have anything to fall back on other than your word, you can feel naked in a lot of situations. I think it's become a must for any police executive. One of the advice I give, as when you're around as long as I am for 14 years, sometimes people call you for advice. They want to know, hey, Chief, help us find another chief. And one of the things that I'll say to that agency is, okay, here's what I would say you should look for, And one of the first missions that chief should have, if you're not CALEA certified, is to seek that CALEA certification, for the reason of bridging that gap for community trust. Number 4, it minimizes executive transition pain points. 2020, I'll never forget, I'm sitting in a Major City Chiefs Association conference. It's 50 top populated cities in the country. 2 years later, I'm back, and I don't recognize anybody. I'm the only one that was still surviving. Transition occurs in policing. Chiefs stay around 2 to 3 years. It's a tough job. It's a tough environment. Every time that chief leaves, you have to have a new transition plan. Omaha at one time had 5 chiefs in 7 years. How do things keep going? How do they stay afloat? Well, you have that culture of CALEA. You have that culture of accreditation that will get you through it. You don't have that, you're reinventing the wheel every single time you get a new chief. That's tough to do, and take a look at cities that are in those predicaments and you'll see a ton of lack of progress. One of the secret sauces to Omaha has been staying power. Our city council's basically been there a long period of time. I've been around 14 years. A lot of our city leaders have been around forever. Our community leaders that really take charge have been around. And that staying power and getting us past all the hurdles and finishing strategic plans over and over again is what put Omaha on the map. And lastly, number 5, it's best practices to reduce crime. So why go against the research when proven and studied when best practices are in place? So CALEA is like a university to me. It's like a diploma. Universities will study best practices. As a chief, you should know that. What are the best practices? How do you reduce crime? What works, what doesn't work? Pretty basic stuff. Universities will study it. CALEA's policies and everything kind of model that, get you in a position to do those things. So those are the 4 things or 5 rather, that I feel anchor modern police leadership, and each one of those is tethered within the CALEA guidelines. So let me close by saying the Omaha Police Department, we've got a few breakout sessions in the next couple days. We have our real-time operations center that they will put a breakout session on. And then also we have a drone first responders program. We're one of the first major cities in the country to have that. You've probably heard about both of those. I encourage you to attend those breakout sessions because the ROCs, the real-time operations centers, they're affordable now. They were price prohibitive for many, many years, but they're affordable now. Cities can do it. You can see how we do it here. Our startup cost was about $100,000. Our annual cost is very minimal, and you'll see the grid that we have over the entire system, and you'll see the interface and the mix and match of technology that you can do now that's actually affordable. Up until now, you'd have to have your Washington, D.C.s, you'd have to have your major cities, real big ones, the only ones that have real-time operation centers. Now, your cities of 500,000 have them. And then the drone first responders program, one of the first around to do it. 911 call occurs in this area, a drone will go first. It's really helped with our response time. Technological advancements were huge to us when we were in staffing shortage. We faced it just like everybody else. We took that extra money because staffing shortages only really have one benefit, right? You free up that money. We took those staffing shortages and that extra money and put it to technological advances so that when we did get restaffed, we were clicking on all cylinders. So we'll get into those 2 things at breakout sessions. Hopefully we'll tell you something you've never heard before. I want you to enjoy this conference. A special shout out to Dr. Craig Hartley for choosing the city of Omaha. Happy to have you here, and it's my pleasure to speak to you this morning. Thank you very much.
Kirk Bednar has been a CALEA commissioner since 2021. He recently retired as the city manager of Brentwood, Tennessee, where the police department has been accredited since November of 1989. As a member of the International City and County Managers Association, ICMA, Commissioner Bednar has advocated for accreditation in featured articles and conference sessions at ICMA conferences. Please join me and welcome Commissioner Bednar for a few comments.
Morning, everybody. You just heard from Chief, and he talked about the value of accreditation and what it meant to his department from a law enforcement standpoint. And if you indulge me as a city manager, which I know that's often challenging for some police chiefs to do, I'd like to talk to you a little bit this morning about the value of accreditation, more from the standpoint of a city manager or an elected body of governing body for local communities. Similar points to what the chief made, but, and again, I know not all of you in this room operate under what I would call a city manager form of government, but even if you're a state agency, an elected sheriff's department, university, police department, 911 center, whatever it might be, somewhere up the chain of command you all have a boss or a commission that you report to. So from that perspective, hopefully some of what I offer this morning related to the non-law enforcement side of things and the value of accreditation will even be applicable to you. As was mentioned in my introduction, I represent the city of Brentwood, Tennessee. Any other Tennessee agencies here this morning? We've got a few. Great, there we go. Brentwood is the longest continuously accredited agency in the state of Tennessee, so it's something we're proud of. And it shows that accreditation is something that's kind of become the culture of our law enforcement department there in the city of Brentwood. So I was asked to join the CALEA, or invited to join the CALEA commission back in 2021. And I'll be honest, as a city manager, was a little apprehensive only because I think we all know that sometimes chiefs and city managers have great relationships and sometimes they don't. And usually there's a variety of reasons for that. But I can say that after my 6 years here so far, that's been a wonderful experience for me as a city manager to be part of the CALEA family. While I had great respect for law enforcement throughout my career in public service, 35 plus years, I will say that the CALEA experience has only served to grow my admiration and respect for law enforcement profession beyond anything I could have expected when I joined the commission back in 2020. And I want to thank, in my entire time here, I've been on Committee E in terms of a review committee. So that covers a lot of agencies here in the Midwest, including Nebraska, all the untold number of agencies in Missouri and the St. Louis area. It seems like every session we have multiples of those committees there. So it's been a great experience, and I want to thank you as agencies for going through the process and being committed to accreditation. If you think about city management and kind of that supervisory, non-law enforcement part of what makes our organizations work, again, sometimes city managers, chiefs of police don't always get along, a variety of reasons, but if you take a step back and look at why city management form of government exists, and if you think about why you as accredited agencies exist and why you go through the process of accreditation, it's really the same reasons. Again, not to give you a civics lesson, but city manager form of government came into being in the early 1900s, and it was primarily to combat corruption and ethical issues in local government. And really the goal of being a city manager in the city manager form of government is to promote effective management of city operations with a transparent, responsive, and accountable structure. Same thing for accredited agencies. By being accredited, you operate in a way that promotes transparency, responsive service delivery, and accountable structure by complying with those standards and showing that every process of a reaccreditation. So even though there may be some friction sometimes between city managers and police departments and chiefs, the foundational reason for what you all do is the same. So hopefully we can get over that and move on. Elected officials and city managers are constantly, though, balancing competing priorities. One thing I often talk with my chief is he or she, as a chief, is obviously there to advocate for their department, but I always had to remind them that I, as the city manager, city commission, always had multiple service delivery issues I had to deal with. It wasn't just police, it was fire, it was parks, it was utilities. So even though we have those competing priorities, we all realize that fundamentally, if the community that you serve doesn't have confidence in the law enforcement department, a lot of those other things don't matter. I had a mayor, long-term city commissioner in Brentwood, who often in public comments would say that if public safety isn't right, none of that other stuff matters. And honestly, sometimes when he said that publicly, it would make me cringe only because it implied that the other things really didn't matter. And that really wasn't the reason he was saying it. But deep down, that statement is fundamentally the truth. Doesn't matter how great your parks are, doesn't matter how great your library system is, doesn't matter if every pothole in the city is paved. If the community doesn't have confidence in its law enforcement and public safety agencies, none of that other stuff is going to make for great quality of life community service in that community. So, made me cringe, but deep down I understood that, and he was obviously right in the long term. But having that confidence in your public safety department for citizens is built, but citizens have to believe that their police department operates in a professionally, consistently, and transparently, and in accordance with nationally recognized standards. And that's really obviously what accreditation is, what you do every day as an accredited agency. But from a city manager's perspective, accreditation is much more than a certificate you might get on Saturday night. It's much more than a decal you have on your vehicles driving around town. It represents a management style and a management system that's ingrained within your organization. It's a commitment to continuous improvement, and it's one of the strongest indicators that a police department is dedicated to excellence in serving its community. And for elected officials, the governing bodies that I serve and that oversee you as a department, being accredited means greater confidence that the department is operating in a manner that's accountable, effective, and legally defensible. Standards that or measures that we all adhere to, things that the chief just mentioned from a law enforcement standpoint. As was mentioned, I came on the commission in 2021. So we're right in the middle of COVID, right after all the George Floyd issues, social justice issues. And in my 6 years here, and again, I've been on Committee E, so that's a lot of the Midwest agencies. Every single hearing, there's been at least one agency, if not more, that talk about how CALEA accreditation helped them kind of get through those issues related to social justice issues. Because you were accredited, you could immediately show your policies and your standards and your use of force. You could show your training records, and you could show your annual reports and analysis of those things. You could professionally discuss your standards and your proofs of compliance whenever you may have been confronted at a community meeting or meetings with community groups. That's what accreditation does. It provides you the foundation and the fundamental basis to respond to those issues. And from being an accredited agency from a community and an elected body standpoint, it means that you already had a certain amount of trust ingrained, hopefully, in your community with your leadership. And that trust, respect, and accountability with your local elected officials often then will translate and lead that into the greater community. And I can guarantee you, from at least my community, and I know throughout the country, elected officials, it was a lot easier for them when they were dealing with some of those issues to start off with talking to the community and talk about the fact that they had an accredited law enforcement agency. So we all know being accredited is one thing, but it doesn't mean everybody's perfect. And you, as you know, every day you have people out in the community interacting with the public. Something can always go wrong. Mistakes will happen, but it's how you respond to them that makes the difference. From a city management perspective, I think this is an important point I want to emphasize here. Being an accredited agency and living accreditation within your agency day in and day out are two entirely different things. Becoming accredited is a process. Some of you will be finishing that process here. Some of you have been through that process years ago. But becoming accredited and living accreditation is a culture. And when excellence becomes part of that culture, citizens will benefit throughout the time. I asked earlier about Tennessee folks here. Is anybody in the room, you're always a little worried about calling out a specific agency, but is anybody here from Murfreesboro, Tennessee? A couple folks here. So for those of you who don't know, Murfreesboro is a city, about 175,000 folks or so. Just outside of Nashville, major city, home to Middle Tennessee State University. They're here for their initial accreditation, this process, so I applaud them for that. And they don't, right now they're sitting there wondering what the heck am I going to say about them. But, and this is just something that happened a few weeks ago, but got big play in the Nashville area. They had an incident where a nonverbal autistic teenager had kind of gotten away from his mother at a shopping center and had shown up in a Target and was in the dinosaur toy aisle by himself. But again, nonverbal. Police were called. Officers showed up. Because of the training that officer had in critical incident management, dealt with that situation in a very professional and compassionate way. Ended up buying toys out of his personal credit card for that young man. And then was able to reunite that young man with his mother. As the world is today, there were other people in the store filming it all. Ended up on social media and blew up around the Nashville area. Again, we all can love and hate social media, but this is a case where it was a very positive experience. The outcome was very positive. And my point of that is, what it really did, though, for Murfreesboro, and they're a great agency, they have a great relationship already, but that is the type of an incident that creates the goodwill and that positive impression with their city leadership. And that may have been something that could happen any day and may not have been a big deal within the department had it not gone viral through social media. But I can guarantee you that Darren, their city manager, and their city elected leadership is something that incident will stay in their mind. And the next time something comes up with the police department, that will lead and help guide some of the decision making that goes on and that goodwill that was built by that one little incident. So I applaud Murfreesboro, applaud them for being here for accreditation, but that one incident is just kind of a microcosm. Now then, that could happen, that type of incident certainly could happen in agencies that are not accredited. We all understand that. But I strongly believe that living accreditation day in and day out creates a culture that makes sure we hire the right kind of people, train them appropriately, and equip them to be able to serve their communities with both compassion and force, depending on the requirements of the situation. So again, I think what you all do from an accreditation standpoint creates the atmosphere that generates the possibility for that kind of incident. But we all know that to be a great agency, successful leaders have to continue learning. It's a lifelong process of learning. And you have to surround yourself within your department with people who continue to learn every day. The theme of this conference is the value of professional associations. For city managers, our professional association is the International City County Management Association, or ICMA, which was founded back in 1914, so over 100 years old. And we also have state associations across the country, too, of city managers. I can tell you at every one of our conferences, whether it's usually the state association or certainly our international associations, we as city managers have sessions related to public safety and management of police and fire. Because as city managers, we understand that that's a primary function of us as a local government. Each of you, whether you're at the CEO level, accreditation manager level, somewhere in between there, each of you have the opportunity to also be part of an association, whether that's at the state level, regional level, or even internationally. And I would argue that it's at those types of associations where the greatest continuous learning takes place. As leaders of accredited agencies, not only should you be involved in these law enforcement associations, I would argue you should be involved in the leadership of those associations, whether at least at the state and the regional level. In my 13 years as city manager in Brentwood, I had the honor of appointing 2 chiefs. Both of those were internal promotions, so I never had to go through the process of a public search process. But I can guarantee you, had I had to do that, when I was screening candidates, being part of those regional, national associations, and being honestly in the leadership level of those associations would have been a screening criteria for me, because that was what I would have expected for a chief, to be a leader in his profession, his or her profession, in the regional level. So, as a commissioner, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time on the commission and the opportunity to achieve a deeper understanding of the law enforcement profession and what it takes to be an outstanding law enforcement agency. And you, as agencies, have my utmost admiration and appreciation for what you and your people do every day to make your communities better. I think we all know that law enforcement profession today faces unprecedented challenges revolving around generational attitudes about employment and career choices, unrealistic public expectations, the abyss that is social media, and the complete, what I call at least, complete dysfunction that's represented by our partisan political leaders in Washington on both sides. But the fact that political dysfunction is unfortunately starting to creep down to the state and the local level in most places. But I can tell you that these same issues and challenges are problems for us in the world of city management and for elected officials. How we collectively, in partnership, respond and adapt to these challenges will shape the future of our agencies, our professions, and our communities. One final thought to leave you on, and I'm probably going to show my age here, but have any of you read the Jim Collins book, Good to Great, which came out about 25 years ago? I'm going to show a handful of folks. Again, came out early 2000s. Good to Great, just a quick, basically he studied private business organizations that operated at a high level and tried to figure out what distinguished those that operate at a good level and what operated at a great level, and what filled that gap for those that operated at the great level. And his famous kind of thesis statement out of this whole thing is that good is the enemy of great. Again, good is the enemy of great. And basically what that is telling you is that good organizations, private, public, whatever it may be, and the ability to move to that great level is often a problem, because if you're already good, it's harder to find that reason, that opportunity, those resources to move to the great level. And I would argue that as accredited agencies, you've already done the hard work to become good, but that doesn't mean you're great, because there's a next level. It's that becoming accredited and living accredited, that fills that gap, is that living accredited, make that culture of your organization is what helps you become great. So accreditation is not about paperwork. It is about paperwork, but truly the culture of accreditation is not about paperwork. It's not checking the boxes. It's not earning a plaque or a certificate on Saturday night. It's about delivering better public service. It's about building safer communities, and it's about earning the trust of those communities. And it's a commitment, demonstrating a commitment to professionalism that citizens can see and experience every day. Again, I've had a great opportunity in my 6 years to see agencies from across the country that embrace accreditation, not as a destination, but as a journey of continuous improvement. Those agencies understand something very important. You understand something very important, that accreditation is not about proving you're perfect. It's about demonstrating that you're committed to becoming better every day. And that commitment benefits your officers and staff. It benefits governing bodies. It benefits all local government organizations. And most importantly, it benefits the citizens that you serve. So I thank you for your commitment to professional law enforcement, your dedication to public service, and your continued support of accreditation as a pathway to excellence. And I want to offer my congratulations to those agencies who are up for accreditation during this conference, especially those of you who are here for your initial accreditation. So I thank Craig and the CALEA staff for the opportunity to serve as a commissioner, and I wish you all continued success as you make the commitment to make your communities better, as you serve them professionally, transparently, and accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Bednar, for your comments. The road to accreditation usually begins with the CEO, but it is managed by an accreditation manager who is also committed to excellence and focused on improving an agency. The achievement that exemplifies this level of professional commitment is the CALEA Accreditation Manager Certification. This award is presented to current CALEA accreditation managers who have provided significant contributions to the public safety profession and CALEA accreditation. We would like to take this opportunity to award the recent recipients of the CALEA Accreditation Manager Certification Award. As your name is called, please come up to be recognized. Angie Rayburn Pigot, Washington County Sheriff's Office, Hillsboro, Oregon. Angie has served as an accreditation manager since 2022 and has been with the Washington County Sheriff's Office since 2023. When asked to describe how her agency benefits from CALEA accreditation, she stated the process assists agencies, both small and large, by helping them to stand up to clear and concise policies and practices that align with international standards. She believes accreditation is a vital framework for professional excellence and accountability, ensuring the department consistently meets the highest standards of service and to the community. In addition to Angie, certification was also received by the following recipients who were unable to attend this morning. Laura Brown from the Chesterfield County Police Department, Chesterfield, Virginia. Elizabeth Knutson, Virginia Office of the State Inspector General, Richmond, Virginia. Sergeant John Kunick Jr., Wilmington Police Department, Wilmington, North Carolina. And Hannah Silberman, Asheville Police Department, Asheville, North Carolina. Congratulations again to all recipients. We look forward to your continued contributions to CALEA accreditation. Now please welcome Executive Director Craig Hartley.
Well, good morning. We're back here again, and thank you for being right here with us in Omaha, Nebraska. What we believe is going to be a week full of opportunities, as you know, and training engagements and really networking and corporate business. And most importantly, as we talk about this again and again, 133 public safety agencies that are candidates for accreditation or initial accreditation this week right here in Omaha. All under what you've already heard about this morning, the gold standard for public safety agencies, which we all know to be CALEA accreditation. You might not believe this, but this is the 138th meeting of this particular commission for this purposes. And as a reminder, our commissioners and our delegates, they all serve in their roles in voluntary capacities, mostly because of their professional passions to contribute positively to our industry, as well as their own histories of leadership and result-oriented dispositions. You know, although it's been nearly 50 years of engagement for our organization here in this space, this week, still, I think that you're going to find this strong commitment to progressiveness, as well as our ongoing efforts to ensure our products remain really best in class because you really deserve that level of support. I remind folks all the time, and you'll probably laugh at this a little bit, that we have enough armchair and professional critics really to keep us all honest, right? And our role at CALEA is really to establish and administer opportunities for success. That's what we do. And for agencies, again, to demonstrate voluntarily this unwavering commitment and persistence towards excellence. That's what we're here for. Now listen, not that I pay attention. Some of you may laugh at this a little bit too, but when I woke up this morning at 5:30 a.m., there were 1,000 305 public safety agencies enrolled in CALEA accreditation. And this includes engagements all across North America. It includes Canada, it includes Mexico, the United States, of course, and the Caribbean basin are involved with us. Now, this sounds impressive, and it is, but because the total possible number of enrollments is much more, our saturation point for engagement is only at about the 10% mark, only 10%. But stop and think about that for me just one moment. So that means if you are clearly among the elite, you're the elite when you're in this room and at this conference. Collectively, you know this too, that we set the standards for others to follow. But that only happens through really powerful leadership and significant professional experience, and mostly because of your participation with a commitment to using the standards for continuous improvement. Now, this morning we've already seen some incredible examples of these particular attributes from the remarks from Chief Schmader. If you're not aware, he's not only leads one of the major municipal agencies in this United States, but he's also an accomplished author and academic, writing on leadership and other management issues that affect police agencies themselves. And we couldn't be more honored to have him with us this morning. So again, Todd, we appreciate your contributions, as your involvement has really made a difference for all of us as we've got to experience that with you today. I also want to provide, again, another special thank you to Commissioner Kirk Bednar. Kirk is a friend, and he's been a leader within our organization for 6 years now. And as you know from his informative and really inspiring comments, he brings this really different perspective than others in this room have today. And this is because his professional background is really anchored to municipal governments and leadership and management in that space. It's different. However, I can tell you, rest assured, he truly understands the stressors that all of us face in this public safety space as leaders and practitioners. Kirk's been a trusted advisor for me and this organization, and he's going to be missed when he's gone. And so again, thank you so much, Kirk, for your work and your contributions over the years that you've been here. And finally, I want to take a little time to, again, recognize Mayor John Ewing for his participation today. As a former leader in a police agency himself, he really understands that public safety officials, and you've heard this in his message, they really can't work effectively and meet their duties and responsibilities without the support of elected officials. And if you think about that just a moment, it's really a hallmark of our democracies. And you have clearly demonstrated that in your comments and attendance with us today. Now, each time I get this opportunity to speak at a CALEA conference like this, I am just full of pride and energy, and it reminds me of the importance of our collective work, our work together, because it includes decades of professional efforts from our predecessors, like this whole room has transitioned over the time that I've been here, as well as the work that you do every single day in bringing legitimacy and credibility to our programming. You do that. You know, it takes accreditation managers, it takes chief executive officers, it takes compliance services members, and gosh, it takes assessors and assessment managers and administrative staff and delegates and commissioners and a whole host of what I like to call our constituents to make this process work well at every level so that we can enjoy the success that we enjoy today in this room. Now, you guys know I like to tell stories, and I want to take a time just a minute, and I want you to think just for a minute about your happy place. Give it just a minute of thought. Where's your happy place? What makes you most content? Where do you recharge your batteries, and where do you recharge yourself? And what makes you feel like life is worth living and you can breathe a little easier? And if you've got that image in your head, I want you to think about accreditation, and it's nothing like that at all. Not one bit about that at all. In fact, it is the only service that you pay for that makes you work harder, right? That's it. You give us money and we tell you to work harder. It's different than any other, and we're not ashamed of that at all, because remember, hard work itself doesn't guarantee success. Never does. But without it, you have absolutely no chance at all. It won't occur. And I want you to hear me loud and clear that for you, this conference should be a place where you can connect to others, the others that have that same professional interest, and have this incredible desire to significantly impact the effectiveness and organizational capacities all across the public safety entities that we serve. Accreditation does create a way for you to leave an enduring legacy. It's something that you can leave behind after all of your hard work. And from my estimation, which is worth absolutely nothing, I remind you, nothing is more tragic than avoiding your full potential. And accreditation helps you chart that pathway of success. Now, again, I'll remind you that you're in a room full of others that recognize hard work matters in the industry. And for those here today contemplating accreditation, just joining us, like York County Sheriff's Office and Grand Island PD, and I think Box Elder is here maybe, just remember this. Ships that wait for the perfect weather, if they wait in the harbor for the perfect weather, they never leave. You can do this. It doesn't have to be the perfect time. It just takes initiative. Now, for those that were living under a rock this summer, and it looks like some of you could have been, let me inform you of this, that in addition to all the important work that we've done getting ready for this conference, there's been this incredible sports spectacular going on the world stage, and it's called the FIFA World Cup of Football. Somebody likes that, I assume. Now, gaining interest in this sport for me, it's not been easy, to be honest with you. It's been a hard transition for me, but I've learned in a different way to kind of love the game, although I still call it soccer instead of football, if that gives you some sense. In fact, you may find it difficult to believe, but when I was in high school, nobody laugh about this, there was not even soccer available. You couldn't even play soccer. It wasn't an option. But also, just for context, when I was in high school, we still had places where students and teachers could go smoke together in a smoke hall. And I know you think that's a little bit of absurdity, but it's true. It really was. But thank goodness, over time does bring positive change, right? In fact, in many ways, it's changed so much, our kids that are still in school are not even allowed to bring, what do they call those beverages that has energy drinks or something like that. They can't have excessive sugar. So we've gone from smoking to no sugar in school. I guess that's good. But they do get to play soccer, a sanctioned event, a real opportunity, right? It's a cool thing now they get to do. So I've got kids that range from 11 to 32. And when the older kids in our family, when they begin playing soccer at their age, it really became an evolution, if you will, or a revolution in the United States. And it really served, I think it's like a gender-neutral sport that allowed children to engage in sporting activities. Now, at that time, my two older kids, they just laid in the grass and tried to catch butterflies and pick dandelions during the game. But it really was an opportunity in this country where soccer and football really began to gain popularity. Now, I'm not an expert, but as I watched the FIFA World Cup games this summer, I was absolutely amazed, really, at the logistical complexity of the operations that took place during those types of things. And you may know this, probably you do. They simultaneously held games in all of North America, Canada, the United States, and Mexico, all at the same time, all playing for the same purpose. And as I watched closely during those events, it was clear to me that the very, very, very best teams, they worked together, really like coordinated machines. They combine like elite technical fundamentals with these highly coordinated tactical systems, and especially emphasizing on structured possession and aggressive pressing and fluid positional rotations. I sound like a sports commentator, right? Like I know what I'm talking about. But it's kind of, though, if you stop and think just a minute, it's a little bit of the same thing that happens in really great public safety agencies, if you think about it. And as I was watching they controlled the games by what they call dominating the midfield. Wait a minute. Dominating the midfield right here and stretching the opponent's defense out and really creating space. And it always felt like to me the great performing teams were from places where children grew up with soccer as part of their culture. They had a passion for the game. They loved it. And speaking of passion, you may know this, but my family that lives in our nuclear family are all from Mexico. You can cheer from Mexico. It's okay. Ready to go. And every time the Mexican national team played this summer, we would, at our house, transform our place that we live to a virtual stadium, if you might imagine. And we set up this outdoor projector in a theater area, and we gathered our flags and our banners, and We posted them all around the patio, and we used horns and clappers and all things to make noise, which drove me insane, but I smiled like I enjoyed it. And we even put on our Mexico green jerseys as we sat around. Now, as a side story, you don't have to tell anybody this. I know y'all won't talk outside this room. Unfortunately, the sizing chart for Mexican apparel is really different from U.S. apparel. Do some of y'all know that? So, although my wonderful wife bought me a jersey that said extra, extra large, it was not. It was more like an adult medium or something like that. So you can probably imagine this image. I looked a little bit like the largest kid in middle school on the team, still trying to fit into that youth shirt with this dad bod. So I was rocking my green shirt. However, it was fun. And it really worked to pull us all together as a family and really made us feel connected to the broader world. All experiencing the same dynamic as we watched these games. Even if I was wearing a shirt 2 sizes too small. Now, not that you're wearing undersized clothes here, although we can help you with that later. CALEA conferences carry that same level of energy and passion. And we want you to feel like you are pulling for everyone that works in the field to be safer, to be more effective, to be more confident, and really be more professional. In essence, now, you are a member of a team that protects and values constitutionality. It protects public trust and works on delivering services in a democracy that makes for the very best places in the world to live. That's our goal. And we work hard to make you feel that sense of worth and attendance in our classes and events. And as we plan our conferences, we always think about how we theme these events to ensure we really remain progressive and focused and on substantive issues and how it affects you every day and how we can help you in dealing with the issues that you have to address when you're at work. Now, in the recent past, some of you have been to these other conferences, we talked about policy development, we talked about artificial intelligence, and we even talked about contemporary public safety legal issues. Well, this time, it was thought important to bring greater awareness, as you've already heard, to the value of professional associations within the public safety industry. And some of you may know this, but CALEA really was conceived through the work of one of these types of organizations. Originally, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP, they received this federal grant to improve public safety. Now, it was domestic in the United States at the time, and it's grown since then. And it was really following on the heels of something called the 1967 President Commission on Law Enforcement. And from there, 4 major law enforcement associations worked to develop kind of the organizational structure and support to deliver the credentialing services in the field that we now know today. And each recognized at that time that such a program like that really needed to be independent and have its own authority. And so those associations spun off what you now know to be CALEA. And they consisted of the IACP, the National Sheriff's Association, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and the Police Executive Research Forum. And they're all still part of our mission and support us today with the appointment and confirmation of commissioners, but probably most importantly, through their contributions of policy development, through their contributions of research and advocacy for practitioners and leaders in the field. So the theme for this conference, as you've already heard right here, is the value of professional associations and leadership pathways and strategies for impacts and outcomes. Following my comments this morning, probably immediately following, if I got my timing right, Tom Wilson is the director of the Police Executive Research Forum. He's the Center for Management and Technical Assistance. He's going to be providing us with an overview about the efforts his organization has done to support public safety professionals, everything probably from research initiatives to executive search activities. Later today, Mel Mayer from APCO, that's the Association of Public Safety Communication Officials International, how I remember that, I don't know. And we hope to have the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives Director Dwayne Crawford here, and IADLES President Michael Sherlock. And IADLES is the International Association of Directors of Law Enforcement Standards and Training. I think I got that right too. And it'll be facilitated by Kirk Bednar, who's also a member, as you know, of the International City and County Manager Association. They're going to collectively speak to us about their perspectives from the industry and really what further they can do to help promote our own capacities and safety and efficiencies and confidence for the public. Thursday morning, if we continue this theme, if you will, we'll be honored to have Justin Smith, who is the director of the National Sheriff's Association, as well as IACP subdirector Gene Vogelin. They're going to talk about their resources and their organization can provide in the pursuit of excellence as well. Now, despite all that effort and all that time that's gone into that and what good representation we have, you need to know there's other committed associations out there too with the same level of support. Examples are the International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators and the National Association of Women Law Enforcement Executives and the National Center for Policing Innovation and the National Association for Accreditation Leadership. And the list goes on and on and on. And we probably can't get them all in, obviously, today, but it does let you know that it's those that exist, the process works, and it doesn't even mention the ones that occur at the state level. For me, these associations really help us create this powerfully effective standards that are portable, that can move from agency to agency in all the public safety domains which you work. And we're excited about their involvement here today. Now, I also have to tell you, we know we're imperfect and there's always room for growth. So at every conference, we sincerely listen to the needs and interests of the constituents, mainly you, the ones that are in the audience today. We listen to you about what we can improve on. And as you might imagine, consistency in communication and corporate communication always prevails. Tell us what's going on. Tell us more. We get that. And during a special session that we held in Tucson, Arizona this past March, we heard from you about this awareness around standards, subject amendment. So we incorporated a pre-conference webinar for that, and we also understood there was interest in knowing more about business and process related to actions of the commission. So we created a new class in confidence on that, and we listened to your desire about more self-improvement, and we're working with Power DMS to try to do work in that area as well. Now, I'm trying to think of the other things I need to tell you this morning before we leave. So finally, this conference is incredibly full of, if you can imagine, training specifically anchored to accreditation. We're going to work on those areas as well. And during the conference, we've strived really to create networking time for you to engage in others. We want to make that happen with an event that's going to take place on Thursday here and Thursday afternoon, and it's entitled Client Appreciation and Network, which will take place in the Grand Ballroom at 4:30 following the classes. And all of this is in addition to all the work that we do to review the agencies to celebrate their success that will commence with a banquet on Saturday night in their honor. Furthermore, while you're here, we'll finalize any standard amendments and promulgate their distribution, keeping the very most credentialed organization with contemporary standards available for your use and application. On that note, too, we've also worked with the U.S. Department of State and U.S. Department of Justice COPS Office on the administration of a grant to support 9 public safety agencies in their pursuit of professional excellence through accreditation. Now listen, on an incredible personal note for me, our organization experiences problems too, and since we last held a conference, you may find this hard to believe, 5 of our staff members have lost their parents. And another commissioner has lost a spouse. And we've had a retirement and a long-standing person. But despite these stressors, we've tried to remain really, really true to our mission and focus on creating opportunities for public safety agencies to continue in their advancement towards accreditation, because we know that regardless of the challenges that we face, you have to carry on too. And that's our role and that's our responsibility. While you're in attendance at the conference, I really want you to consider using the app to navigate times and schedules and download resources and review special notifications and communicate with other conference attendees and see exhibitor information. Because the conference app is easy to use, just go to your app store, it's easy, and whatever, I think it's Apple Store or whatever other application you heathens use that don't have an iPhone, download that and use your conference registration email to receive a link for the activation, and you'll be all set. And you know that if I can use it, I'm the guy who always needs support on that type of stuff. I don't have any problems, so you'll be fine with it and move forward. I promise you, it's easy, it's cool, and it really works to support your conference experience. Also, during the conference, we encourage you to visit the vendors that are here. Each are able in some way to contribute to either your management of accreditation process or provide solutions that complement the compliance demands of some of our standards. Those exhibitors, always have to give them a plug while I'm up here. They're Power DMS by NeoGov, File on Q, Off-Duty Management, Vector Solutions, Versaterm, MedE Incorporated, Civic Hire Solutions LLC, and ideogen. I think I got that right. If I'm wrong, somebody fix me. And while you're here with us this week, I want you to stretch a little and make a few more contacts with others that are participating in classes and events, and leverage their knowledges and experiences to make your life better at home too. Make you have a takeaway, not only of professional knowledge, but some contacts that are on a broader group of professionals striving for the same objectives. You can do this, just like the professional associations you'll hear from this week. I'm also reminded that most people don't understand that we all work in this different organizations, right? If you're a public safety person in North Carolina, what happens there has impacts on Kansas City, Missouri, and Rogers, Arkansas, and Corvallis, Oregon, and, well, Chiapas, Mexico, maybe. So we all have to work to raise and recognize the professional industry's capacity. You know, comfort, if you are reminded, it always destroys dreams, and it creates more failures. So don't be afraid to ask questions and challenge me, and challenge our staff, and challenge the commission. It makes us better, and we like the challenges. So, if I start to bring this opening session to a close, I want you to think about my conversation with you up here in just a few minutes. And remember, you can, if you want to, lay in the grass and try to catch butterflies and pick dandelions, just like my kids did when they were playing soccer for the first time. Or you can seize accreditation as a hallmark of your career. And remember this, that great performers maintain a heightened level of passion about their work. So never lose that. It will carry you all the way to success from my position. During the soccer games I mentioned, really that passion changed my house from a place to live to a place to celebrate. And I really believe that can be recognized in your professional environments too. And while you're here, we'll try to make sure your CALEA jersey's not too small and it fits well, and help you develop strategies to fit in when you get back home as well. Now, I'm pretty sure there's no professional soccer players in the room this morning, but I have to imagine that somehow, if there were, they would tell us this: be disciplined, be focused on success, work with your teammates, learn from your mistakes, and celebrate. Celebrate your victories. You deserve that. I want you to enjoy this conference because it's for you and you matter. And although you don't hear it enough, I'm going to tell you today, your work matters. And we want to be there to support you every step of the way. Congratulations on what you've accomplished. Congratulations for what you will do. And thank you for letting me spend some time with you this morning. I'm going to bring this opening session to a close, and feel free to contact us for whatever your needs are during the event. Thank you for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the featured session Beyond Membership will begin at 9:50.